Wow, we've just come out of the solar eclipse, which is really going to really impact us with self-care. Remember last year, 2019, was all about manifestation, what the stars brought to us. With this eclipse that just happened, it's really going to bring in the highlighted parts of self-worth, self-care. So what I'm going to do is really break this down over a few episodes to follow. We'll do them very short and very sweet, so you can get the maximum exposure, you can get the maximum amount of input for you to better your life moving forward. You know, as a psychic, I get many different questions every single day. You know, do they love me? Is my ex coming back? How's my finances? Or will my marriage last? And these podcasts are really going to break this down to assist you personally. And the best part of it, it's absolutely 100% free, no charge, just a gift from Psychic Mix to the world. Now, the introduction to this is basically it's all about trust, you know, and how do you trust people in your life, your boss, your wife, your children, your fellow mates at the pub. The trust factor. Trust is a very complex concept. You know, it's quite involved, because you might work for someone and trust them, but you don't trust them with your money. But at the same time, at home, you've got a family, or you live in a community, and you trust them with your finances, but yet you won't trust them to take out or hang up the laundry, or to do the dishes. So it's an important question. You know, our quality of life is heavily determined on the quality of our specific relationships, and the relationships in turn are based on trust. It's not about whether they can buy you something or not. It's whether you feel comfortable with them, that trust factor in life. And this is what we're going to unpack, the trustworthiness, and 13 very brief steps on how to achieve it, and how to get that self-care and that understanding between your mind, your body, and your soul, just to work really in this wonderful symbiotic relationship. You know, trust is developed over time. It is when you, with your family, whether with the clients, you know, it's not about our own agenda, or whether we're putting our agenda in front of theirs. It's about having a mutual understanding and putting their agenda in front of our own. And this is so important, because not only will we start developing a good foundation in life, but we'll start becoming more virtuous, provided once again that the agenda or their philosophies is not harmful to themselves or others. So the beautiful attitudes of effective self-care. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to roll. And if you like it and you really want to get into this, once again, it is 100% totally free. Please subscribe. Click on the subscribe button so you can get the notifications. And over the next week or 2 weeks, all the episodes will follow thereafter. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste. Hello, my name is Arcadian, and we are exploring the influences on self-care. You know, we had the eclipse that happened, and over the next few months, we are really going to just explore ourselves, self-care. Remember, 2019 was all about manifestation. The beginning, first and second quarter of this year is all about self-care and self-development. Your mind, your body, and your soul all affect each other. Now, we always talk about the symbiotic relationship and how it works. But, you know, a few years ago, I was working at when I was being in younger, and I used to walk barefoot. There was a chap that I did a lot of work with, a little bit overweight, but in essence it opened up doors for him to be bullied. He wasn't in a relationship of sorts, and I gave this some thought. We sit in these environments, irrespective of whether you're overweight or you're in a relationship that someone's always breaking up with you. We have these self monologues that we look up in the mirror every morning, and we look at ourselves and we're like, I'm not worthy, I'll never find a real relationship. People are always breaking up with me. I'm overweight. I'll never get a girlfriend. And it's this whole relationship, and it almost runs in this vicious cycle that goes around and around and around until you yourself are prepared to change it. And it's really quite simple to do. You just need to stop and take a deep breath, and really just look at life and exercise and relationships. We as people, we are humanistic in nature, and yeah, sure, we make mistakes, but if we keep on telling ourselves that we're not worthy, how are we ever going to get in that environment when we start caring for ourselves and start moving forward in life? It's very important, this. We have our mind, we think one way, and our mind is programming our body because, just say for argument's sake, we're overweight. But if you can look at it from an aerial perspective and say, well, my body's letting me down. My body's letting me down, not my mind. My body's letting me down. So what are you going to do to change that? How are you going to manipulate your circumstances? If you're in a relationship, and these relationships are just running around in circles and circles and circles, getting involved, breaking up, having fights, coming back together, and a vicious circle once again. What are you going to do with that self-monologue that you're telling yourself every single day when you wake up and look in the mirror to change it so you can become more virtuous? You can start looking at yourself and start growing within yourself. These are big questions, big ideas, folks. So, question being, A, what are you going to do? How are you going to be proactive in life? What is it that you're going to do to make a difference for your mind, your body, and your soul, to start trusting one another collectively and have that symbiotic relationship that is so very needed in life? Let's do some angel cards to see just throw a little bit of spin into the cycle and see what's happening and what angels and blessings that are going to come. New love and will. Your guardian angels are around you. So you need not worry. If you're really concerned and really frustrated because things aren't really working out, you might be a victim or being bullied. You might be in relationships that are just in this tempestuous storm all the time. You really do not need to be too concerned about it, because your guardian angels are around there for you. And look at that wonderful card. Meditation. Take the time out to really meditate in the evening and in the morning. If you need to have a hot bath, whatever works for you, just to calm your environment down so your mind and body and soul can start trusting one another. And that's the first step of this 13 podcast episode. Have a wonderful, 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 splendid day. Namaste. Hello once again, and I hope you're enjoying these little short podcasts on self-care. So right to it, part 2, or it's actually part 3, but the lesson factor 2 You know, everyone in our life, everyone has positive intentions. And sure, you know, you might be thinking like, this is absolutely not right. What about the people in war? What about the people that do things within their religious philosophy, you know, or murderers, or whatever the case may be, you know? But in essence, yeah, that's their story, you know. We as humans, and you, when you're concentrating on self-care, you know, how often is it that you put yourself in a situation and you're like thinking of someone, and you're like, I'm passing my intention, my thought onto a situation which is really negative, and that impacts you as a person. You know, how often, if I had to raise a suggestion, how do you like to be judged? You know, would you like it? Or do you like it? Do you go out intentionally, say, today I want to go out in the world so people can judge me? But yet, we in ourselves are doing this all the time. You know, it's part of human nature. So we need to get a grips of this. You know, it's almost as if we've got double standards. You know, one where we looking out at the world and we've got our viewpoint on them, and then our own separate morals. You know, so it's all right for us to do it, but it's not okay for our family members, your partner, your social circle to do it towards us. So some quite deep stuff here. There's some deep stuff. The bottom line, in essence, is you really need to not concentrate on other people. It's about looking inwards, looking towards yourself and bettering yourself so you can find that tribe that makes you happy. When you wake up in the morning, do you want to wake up with anxiety every day? Do you want to wake up like, oh, I have to go to work, I can't deal with this, my partner's not giving me enough attention, I'm going to bed, life's just getting me down, I don't want to carry on anymore. You know, these are not the nice ways to live every day, you know. And that monologue that we discussed earlier, you know, that where we pre-program ourselves every time we look in a mirror, let's start to change that. And it starts with you. Starts with you. Let's have a look at some angel cards and see what happens for today. Forgiveness. Weren't we just talking about that? Forgiveness. So, you know, if people have judged you, forgive them. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. And most certainly in the current, you're going to have lots of abundance today. You know, the nice thing about when we let go, we just let go of burdens and stop carrying this huge, massive weight on our back. Things just tend to go in your favor, and they start to work out in a really wonderful way. And not only that, you'll start to gather and gain more friendships, and those trust foundations will really start to work out. Anyway, if you like these little short podcasts, please click the subscribe button below. There are a few more. They're very short and very precise, and I'm sure many will get a lot of mileage out of it. Thank you for your time. Namaste. Hello and welcome back to these short little podcasts on self-care. You know, we've been discussing various factors about how our behaviors have positive attitudes and a few other little bits. There are only a few little ones left, but today we're going to just unpack how our behavior and the way that we act is geared towards adaptation. Now, I would like you just to take a moment, take a deep breath in and out. You know, try to calm yourself and just try to relax and think about, have you ever felt that you don't fit in? Have you ever felt that you've been in a position where you just have not found your tribe? And this really happens at different stages through our life. But to best explain this, I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to me when I was while I was finding myself as a young child. I used to go to the beach quite often, and often I would end up putting myself personally into circumstances and situations, and this really went over to the later stages of my life, where you end up adapting or adopting your personality, changing your personality to try to fit in so you can get accolades or get a way of self-worth in a way. And it's quite difficult when you're involved and you're in a relationship and yet you do things that are out of context to what is deemed right towards your personal self-care, your personal relationships. It's almost a stage of, one could say it's self-sabotage, but without you knowing it. So when it comes to self-care and it comes to your behavior, our behavior, and it comes to the word geared towards adaptation, if we're in a relationship and your partner is really doing things that are really irking you, they're just really getting you down, you know, if you can put your mindset in their viewpoints and just ask yourself why, you know, is there a void that they're trying to fill? And by doing that, you're getting a little bit of empathic reasoning. You're getting that way of, hold on one second, they are doing this for this reason. And it will really assist and help us when it comes to our own self-care, because when we can look at another person's viewpoint, and you know, fair enough, they might be irritating, they might be doing things that are totally irrational, but if you can see it from their viewpoint and their understanding why they're doing it, it will really assist you as yourself to enter into a conversation with them one-on-one, whereby you enter it without any judgment. And that's a key point here, to have no judgment when having these little powwows that you need to have with one-on-one friends or family members or life partners, whoever it may be. But to enter into the conversation, no judgment, because then you can really concentrate on the trust factor. And that trust factor, with experience, builds a really good solid foundation. And by doing that, not only yourself, when you start looking at towards yourself with self-care, but it's looking at a longevity within relationships. So you kind of take it away from the stages of being in this power struggle, whereby I'm right and you're right, or I'm wrong and you're wrong, and those little niggly fights that happen, to the stages of truly unconditional love. That unconditional love that is just there through the rest of the days and the rest of our lives. Anyway, I hope this short little podcast helped you, and much love to all. But before we ring off, I'm going to pull 3 angel cards and we can see what the day unfolds for us. I just love it. You know, there's always confirmations in life, you know, but when we in ourselves have these fights that happen and they occur because of certain situations that we do or other people do, and it doesn't meet our expectations, creates a need for balance in your life. Really do. What a lovely card. And this card basically means that within our environment, instead of going full steam ahead or perhaps sitting on the couch and watching a stream of TV series, create the balance between the two. It's okay for both, but a balance is needed in life. Get out and see nature. Surround yourself with nature. It's important to, you know, we live in a high octane world. Everyone is just chasing all the time. And if you don't force yourself to get out there and just have that breather in nature, whether it's taking animals for a walk, whether it is going. Hello and welcome to part 5, the stages of life development and self-care. I hope you're enjoying the podcasts. There's only a very few left, so I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any of them. Very helpful and very enlightening. Now we're getting to the part where we need to accept the, you know, people and say, encourage them to change, encourage our own selves to change. This is quite a big idea, absolutely big idea. You know, you have people from all over the world, and when we interact to develop trust, not only with ourselves, but with people around us, family members, loved ones. And the key point here is you got someone's behavior and you got the person, who they are, who they identify themselves with. Now, when they identify themselves as a certain type of person, that's their behavior. But who their core principles are, their core understanding on the actual person, that invariably cannot be changed. It's who they are. But once we understand how to separate the behavior from the actual person, we can understand that behavior can change. And that really gets us back to the podcast we did before this, where behavior is geared towards adaptation. And you can see how these short little lectures or little talks are really integrating with one another now. They're starting to work and flow together. Now, to unpack this so we understand it more clearly, and I've seen this quite often, you know, with family, friends, and people around when they're going out and their children are a little bit naughty, you know, and they turn around and say, "How dare you do that? What is wrong with you? You are vicious. You are nasty." You know, are we going to really do that to a young child and brand them, or to a person? Of course not. We're not going to do that, because that's going to, you know, traumatize them for the rest of their lives. But if we had to turn around and say, no, Charlotte and Peter, you don't do that. That is absolutely very naughty of you. I still love you, but in essence, it was very naughty. You know, you might have a naughty corner, or you might have a different way, whether it's positive or negative punishment, but you install a process to build their characters. And doing this helps mold and change their behaviors. And by changing their behavior, remember, behavior is not the person. And by understanding that there is a distinct line between the two, will help you and yourself not only concentrate on building good foundation, good solid relationships with other people, but at the same time bring it home to yourself, whereby you and yourself can have less stress in your life, less problems in your life, because you understand why people behave the way they do. And when you enter into those conversations, once again, you can understand and make it a little bit easier when entering into a discussion or a topic or a debate where we need to go in without any judgment, absolutely no judgment. And then that in itself will have no precognition or pre-emphasis on how it's going to play out, and you can communicate with them and achieve a common goal. I hope this number 5 on accepting people for who they are and understanding the difference between their behavior and the actual person helped, and I hope you can apply it in your day-to-day living. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste. Hello, welcome to part 8 of life experiences and life care. Now this one is quite a controversial point. There are no bad people in the world, only unhelpful attitudes and habits and behaviors. Now if you think about it, globally you got different people from different cultures, different backgrounds. They all do things in different ways. They do things that might not, we personally may not believe it, but yet they still do it. Some are really horrendous, some are really good. And that really brings us back to when we were discussing right in the beginning that, where was it? Let's see us somewhere. Every behavior has a positive attitude, and this really works well with this specific podcast that I did previously. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, look at number 3 on self-care, and I'll just give you a foundation on it. Anyway, back to people in itself. You have your partner, your spouse, you've got your loved one, you're in a relationship. I'll throw this idea out there. And you carry on getting involved in these relationships, but yet they never seem to work out. They just don't ever work out. You know, your tribe's not there, you don't feel that you fit in. And it's all about, you know, not going there. So if you can mentally just put yourself in this lovely environment whereby, okay, they don't connect with what I believe in. You know, it's all based on their past history, their education. A few podcasts back, I did one on how I was deemed or named dumb and thick, maybe even. I would have never thought that I'll be sitting here in front of a camera working for a wonderful company called Psychic Mix and get a certification as a cognitive behavioral therapist at the same time. Never in my wildest dreams. The point I'm trying to make here is that if you're in a relationship and you've got friends around you, it's so important to look at their needs, their philosophies, to understand where they're coming from, because once you can understand it, you've got a point of connection and you can really go into that relationship without any judgment, because you understand, okay, this is them, this is their behavior. You can start at the stage of our talks. You should be in a stage where you're separating behavior from the actual human and understanding that deeper level of their past history. You can bring it back to yourself as well and just go back in time. Even if you write it down on a book, you know, age 40, 30, 20, 10, and just look at it. Look at your experiences. Look at your core philosophies and how they've changed and adapted. And this also ties into the podcast that we did earlier, whereby failure is a comma, not a full stop. And you'll start to recognize, hold on one second, life is moving forward. Even though I've got this concept that I am not this way and my relationships are failure, or perhaps you go to the pub and you have a little bit too much of the wine or a little bit too much of the beer or whatever it is that you do, and coming to terms with your experiences once again and the attitude and behavior and underlying the habits that you have as a person, and then start working on those habits. You know, just if they're negative habits, apply some principles. If you have trouble with that, then reach out on Psychic Mix on www.psychicmix.com. I'm available most days, and we can have a one-on-one. We can unpack it and we can try and help you on a personal level. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Welcome, and welcome. You know, there are no inflexible situations, only rigid thinking towards it. And I'm going to break this down. Have you ever been in a situation whereby you've got a really good friend, a spouse, a loved one, your children, and they come to you and they're really unhappy with the way things are working out, and in turn you're like, you can go ahead and do it. You do it. You can really make this happen. And they're like, oh no, I can't. I'm in my job, I need the money. You know, how dare they think that they can do something that they're passionate about? And this basically stems from the way that we learn. You know, when we're born as children, we're born with nothing. We just breathe in and out, and over a period of years we grow and we learn in different ways. You've got your conscious way of learning and your unconscious way of learning. We all know, for argument's sake, just say affairs. Let's bring up that nasty word. We in a situation, but we just know it's wrong. We just know in ourselves that it's wrong. We don't, it's just like, but where did you learn that it was wrong? No one taught you that it was wrong. So you learned that in your unconscious way. And this is what it's really about. You know, when we have our friends and they come to us, and or our loved ones or our children, and they're really battling with a difficult situation in life, and we give them really good positive experience knowledge. We give them insight from the experiences we've had in our past, but yet they in themselves can't really just get on and get it done because of whatever, you know, they had experiences whereby they feel down, or they need the income, or they just got this really bad habit of doing a certain way of acting because they want to achieve something, they just don't know how. And this is a wonderful way to build up trust with a friend, with a family loved one. Get a book and go through the processes, you know, just backstage their life from where they are now and just run it right down. Establish where they learned what is right and what's wrong. If they've got, for argument's sake, they're in a situation where they want to start a new job but they're really scared, but yet at the same time they're really passionate about it, just break it down with them. And if you can do that with them, then why can't you do it with yourself? So it becomes a mutual exercise by using your friend as a tool and at the same time helping you for that self-care. And a bonus part of this whole exercise is it develops a wonderful trust factor. Can you see how all these different exercises are building really good foundations, not only for you, but for the friends around you. So not only are you and yourself are going to become more virtuous, the people that are really struggling in life are also going to uplift their standards and get away from all that negativity in life. Have a wonderful and fantastic day. Namaste.